stop building the foundation and build the rest?
Foundation's great. Your foundation didn't start with this body or with these parents or with anything. Your foundation is the whole of who you are and the eagerness with which you came into this environment. The foundation is the perfect variety of contrasting things that give your clever mind the ability to synthesize and sift and sort and conclude on your own behalf. And if you have the advantage of knowing that a thought that thrills you is one worth pursuing, and a thought that disappoints you or hurts you is not, and so you are following those feelings, we want to talk about the awesome power of non-resisted thought, the awesome power of non-resisted thought. But then you get carried away and you want to get the power, and then you want to point at places, and so then we say, let's call it something else. Let's call it the awesome pleasure of non-resisted thought. Let's call it the awesome bliss of non-resisted thought, just the bliss of non-resisted thought. So what do you think causes you to, at times, be unwilling to capture bliss for yourself?
At some point I convinced myself that I needed you said something once that was so profound to me, and I think it sums it up the best. And of course my brain just denied me that memory.
You convinced yourself that you are unworthy of the bliss.
You said you cannot honor pain. And I'm scrabbling up the hillside that is no longer honoring pain, and I think I'm ready to climb over it. I think I'm ready to give up on pain.
Let's wrap around this just for a moment, because we're all into something big here. This is the profound question. Why do you think that you and others, at times, and often a lot of times, are unwilling to own and accept the rightness, the perfection, the goodness of personal bliss in a moment? Because that's a powerful calibration to who you are. So why would anyone not be willing to calibrate to who they are? And it's because others have taught you that calibrating to them is what you're supposed to do. No matter where they are, you're supposed to calibrate to them. So when you come back round to recognizing that bliss is calibrating to your true self and to your true power and to your true extension and to your true reason for being and all of that, it just gets easier and easier and easier. But there's a piece that we want to stick in here for clarification, and that is the irony of true bliss is complete alignment in the moment with who you really are. It's a calibration of who you really are. And the feeling that it is wrong for me to calibrate to my true bliss, isn't that interesting? Isn't it interesting that what it means is I am who I am in all of my power and goodness, but somehow in my mind my life has caused me to call that inappropriate. And why do I do that? Because so many aren't calibrated to bliss. They're suffering, and so I feel wrong to calibrate myself to bliss in the midst of suffering. Of what value can you be as you join the suffering masses, the confused masses, the mean masses, the ornery masses, the unhappy masses? What possible value could you be to any of them? So now we want to get back to where we began here today. We get it, though. You see, humans, you come into this environment of contrast knowing that the contrast will show you some of everything so that you can decide what you prefer. That's what the evolution of all species is about. So if you don't know what you don't want, you can't know what you do want. But over time, you have translated that as human mass consciousness to mean I must fix problems, which causes you to fixate on problems, which causes you to mostly calibrate to problems. So here you are as billions of people calibrating to problems. And here's the wonderful thing about that. You calibrate to a problem, and the more specifically you calibrate to a problem, the more specifically you launch an equivalent rocket of desire. Every time as an individual or as a mass consciousness you calibrate to a problem, you create the solution. You create the solution, and all of your source energy flocks to the solution and focuses on it and shines a light on it and becomes the point of attraction for the solution. So all around you, the solutions are being gathered. And now we're right back to that person who feels uncomfortable when you're thriving. The more solutions are available for the masses, the more they writhe in discomfort of not letting themselves go there. Isn't that interesting? They suffer from their personal deprivation of what they deserve. Of what they deserve to have. Whew, this is a big conversation. It's a big conversation. We don't want to make it sound hard. It isn't. It's as simple as feel good. So now we want to amplify this just a little bit. So come with us in this scenario. So imagine a child, doesn't matter how old they are, but they're not wadded up in the what they should do's yet, in the shoulds yet. They're pure source energy, and they're eager about life, and they expect everything to be really good for them. But those of you who are socialized and have learned to behave appropriately in your human environments, you need to teach that little brat a lesson, because he just expects everything to go his way, and he needs to learn that that's not how life is. Sound familiar? You're way too happy. You must not have enough responsibility. Go clean your room. Go do something that makes you unhappy like the rest of us, because we seek harmony and you are a misfit. Now, of course, we're leaning in a strong way, but there's a lot of that going around. In other words, if you don't feel good and somebody else does, you're seeking harmony. But the thing that we want you to take away from this gathering, don't harmonize downward, harmonize upward. Calibrate yourself upward to who you are, because it's way easy. If you are a normal human, it is easier for you to calibrate to reality, because it's all around you. You can see it and hear it and smell it and taste it and touch it. It's easy to calibrate to what is, but it takes a master to calibrate to what's in the ethers. It takes a master to calibrate to hopes and dreams and wishes. It takes focus. It takes determination. It takes clarity. And most of all, it takes caring about the way you feel. It takes an unwillingness to feel bad just because so many people do. It takes a determination to feel good because I'm capable of feeling good. So the way we would approach this, if we were standing in your physical shoes, we'd meditate every day, we'd quiet our mind, because when you quiet your mind, you stop thought. And when you stop thought, you stop all vibration. When you stop all vibration, you stop all calibration. And then in that absence of resistant vibration, the source energy within you, who is powerful and influential and focused unequivocally on you, will draw the you upward to the you. And you will join yourself in that bliss, in that excellence, in that clarity, in that good feeling, you see. We do that every day. And then the other thing we would do is we would get out ahead of it as best we could before we look at email, before we answer messages, before we interact with anyone. We would sit with an intention of identifying in this moment in time how we most want to feel in this segment that is before us. And we would confirm, I'm whole and I'm strong and I'm happy and I'm sure and I'm alive and glad to be and I'm good at what I do. I'm blessed. I'm tended to. I'm seen. I'm heard. I'm known. And we would do that every morning and as many times during the day as we could. We would calibrate to the wholeness of who we are, so that when you get out there in the day and your neighbor misbehaves, it's humorous. It's not important. When residual of past momentum appears, it's just something on its way out. It's not something that is an indictment of who you are. It's not an indicator of who you are. It's an indicator of where you've been. And there's some residual of it, but who you really are is something else. And it doesn't take very much, as you are discovering, before the beautiful things begin to surround you in such a disproportionate way that most normal people cannot find a way to harmonize with you. You're just too happy. Too clever, funny at all the right moments, resilient, flexible, good timing in all things. Right there, right there, right there to receive the universe's cooperative components that have already been gathered. And you're so tuned to them that there they are, and there they are, and there they are, and there they are, and there they are, walking around in the same world with people who are missing it, and you're seeing it. And they're having a hard time seeing you thriving, but you've got to give up what they think. And if they ask with sincerity, say to them, I've been there, I was there a long time, didn't like it very much, I do something different now. What's the thing that you do different now? I ignore people like you. Almost completely. Every now and again, I get assigned to you for a little while. Every now and again, I suffer, but it's not my usual way.
Thank you.
Yeah, really good.